the people's leader, the Barbados Labour Party's leader, Member of Parliament for St. Peter, next Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Owen Arthur.
A very wonderful good evening to all of you. I want to say a very special good evening to my friends in Silver Sands, especially Mr. Nurse, my real buddy. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank the persons who have shared this platform with me tonight, and to say how marvelous it is to have Liz back, but the entire family of the Barbados Labour Party so entirely energized to bring salvation and deliverance to our land. Tonight I want to remind you that at the start of this campaign, I made it very clear that we were going by the manner in which we conducted this campaign, send a very clear signal to the people of Barbados as to the nature in which we were going to govern this country when we become the government again. And I think you would agree that there has been a clear and very clear contrast between the way in which our campaign has progressed, free of personal abuse, free of vitriol, focus on giving the people of this country a clear understanding of the enormous challenge that faced them. Also, giving the people the hope that this country can be pulled out of this situation of calamity and put once again on firmer ground. But we deserve to win. But victory is not only by desserts. And I have come tonight, first of all, to say that we are not to begin to behave like Usain Bolt, to put our hands in the air before we have crossed the victory line. There is still work to be done, and I've come tonight to ask the family of the Barbados Labour Party to work to the very end. Do not take this victory for granted. We have to fight on and on and on until the 21st of February. And I say that because I have seen a campaign of a sort that I had never thought I'd see in Barbados. The Democratic Labour Party has thrown everything at us. We have been made with young candidates to endure a situation where night after night we can't be shown on the people's television. We have had to endure a campaign where the agencies of the state, using the taxpayers' money, have been pressed into service to serve only the interests of the Democratic Labour Party. And agencies like the UDC and the RDC, but all government departments are now being made to march only to a partisan political drum. And in this constituency, the abuse has been the worst. The Minister of Finance has said that his big challenge every month is that he has to borrow to pay 7,000 civil servants. And even as he has to borrow to pay 7,000 civil servants, in this constituency, a minister is telling people, go and work, go and work, go and work, without any consideration as to how they're going to get paid. And this country cannot be run this way. This is the path to certain ruin. There has never been in the history of Barbados in any constituency a time when the choice between candidates have been clear. We bring to you a young man who has, even before he has served in Parliament, have served in distinguished ways in this nation. Wilfred Abrams commanded the confidence of the lawyers of Barbados by being the president of the Bar Association at a young age. And he, by that effort, has shown that he can assume major, imposing tasks and deliver himself with the greatest accomplishment. And I'm sure that that same capacity to deliver at the highest level will attend the work that he has to do in this constituency and may have to do in other capacities depending upon the will of the Prime Minister. By contrast, this constituency is now served by a man who is the most disgraceful thing ever to come to public life in this country. And let me explain why. In 2003, Lowe came to this constituency and asked you to support him under false pretenses. He pretended to have qualifications that he did not have. He was and is an intellectual fraud to ask people to vote for him and to tell you that vote for me because I have a BA, he says, from God's Bible College at the University of Connecticut. Well, I went on the website, and God's Bible College does not have a postgraduate program, so this man has a postgraduate degree from a university that does not offer postgraduate degrees. The last time I spoke in this constituency, I told you that he obviously can perform miracles, so that you all should gather down by the Oystins jetty, because one day you may see him start to walk on water. The man came to this constituency as a fraud. And I can say that without any fear of libel, because he lied to you. The man is an intellectual fraud. He tells you he has an MA, but he does not have one. Lowe has become the poster child for what is wrong with this Democratic Labour Party administration. Ministerial interference, ministerial corruption. And tonight I need to put on the record a letter of anguish that was written to Frondell Stewart on the 26th of January 2012. A letter of anguish. And it reads this way. It said, "Dear Prime Minister Frondell Stewart, I have been a member of the Democratic Labour Party since 1986 and wish to thank you for the opportunity to serve on the board of the Sanitation Service Authority. I do not want to continue to serve as a member of this board with the current minister. The minister is Dennis Lowe. The minister chairs meetings on a regular basis." You hear what man says? A minister chairing meetings of a statutory board. That is an abuse of ministerial power. And then he went on, and this should not be so. One matter which I would like to draw your attention to has to do with the truck that the minister asked to be sent back to Autocraft Engineering to be fixed for a price of over $74,000 without having the 3 quotations as is usually required. You hear how much the minister allowed a truck to just be repaired for? At the time when you are sucking salt, can't pay your electricity bills, a truck to be fixed for $74,000. My God. The requirement, it said without having the 3 quotations as is usually required. The minister should be involved in this. But if a truck has to be fixed, you get quotations and you pick the lowest. He said they don't want any quotations whatsoever. This requirement was outlined to the minister by members of the Sanitation Authority Management as well as the new permanent secretary. I am concerned about the behavior of the minister in insisting that the truck be fixed without obtaining the required quotation. This is a serious situation, especially when elections are around the corner. I am concerned about what this can do to the image of the party if it gets out. Once again, thanks for the opportunity to serve, and I remain a loyal member of the DLP, willing to serve you in any capacity. This is a member of the DLP. So sick of Dennis Lowe's abuse of his ministerial power. So sick of Dennis Lowe's abuse of the financial rules of this country. So sick of Dennis Lowe's abuse of the taxpayers' funds at a time when you are suffering and hurting and can't pay your bills, that he wrote Frandl Stewart and tell Frandl Stewart, I cannot take it anymore. And what did Frandl Stewart do? Well, you know, he's the closest thing to an Arctic river. He is frozen at the mouth. Didn't pick teeth. And with the man bring to his attention the abuse of his power, you would imagine that he would call in John and say, thank you for this. Lo, you have to go. And let me make this point very clear. I want to make it very clear. No minister serving with me could have a letter like this written about him or her, involving such an abuse of ministerial power, involving such abuse of the use of the taxpayers' resources, and remain in office. Because we have a duty to protect your taxpayers' funds, we have a duty not to allow abuse of ministerial power in this country, and this has been allowed to stand because, as I want to tell you tonight, a part of our country's problems is not because of the international recession, it is because of how our country is governed. And this can stand and has been allowed to stand because Frandl Stewart finds himself in a position where he is under challenge by the Eager 11 and he needs the support of these people, his acolytes, who can do anything that he pleases because he has Frandl's full confidence. So Frandl, I have come tonight to charge you too with being an accomplice to the misuse of ministerial power. I have come to charge you, Frandl Stewart, with an accomplice to the misuse of the taxpayers' funds. I have come to charge you with being an accomplice to the breach of the financial rules, because this was referred to you for action. A man resigned, and you did nothing. And this is wrong. And I want to perhaps say tonight to you all that Edmund Burke once said that the only thing that is necessary for the triumph of wickedness is for good people to do nothing. This is wickedness. This man sought to bring to the DLP cabinet, and mercifully, they said no to it. An arrangement whereby the boardwalk that the Barbados Labour Party built was to be maintained by some company from Canada under the strangest kind of arrangements. And that situation down at Bagatelle, again, involves the abuse of ministerial power and the abuse of the role of the cabinet, all inspired by this man, Dennis Lowe. And what is the facts? I have nothing against the Binos. Binos had a recycling plant at King Garden. When I was the Minister of Planning, the town planner says they didn't seek planning permission, push it down. I said it is a good project for Barbados. Give them 3 years to find some place to go. But they know that they must get planning permission to establish a recycling plant, if only because the one that I have in King Garden, they don't have planning permission, and the town planner say you have to go. We tried to find a place for them, and they came into office, and David Thompson has put an arrangement in place where they can go down to Bagatelle and establish a recycling plant in the center of a residential district. Here is the issue. The law requires that any such recycling facility must go through the planning process. It must be submitted to the town and country planning department, and it must be accompanied by an environmental impact assessment study, because a recycling plant and the digging up of that old iron and so on will affect the people's health in the immediate vicinity. So that there was a process in the law, set out in the law, for the Cabinet of Barbados to follow. The Cabinet says, do not mind the law. Send it to us. And the Cabinet of Barbados put the Binos in this country, rather than letting the matter go through the town planning department. Cabinet decided to take the place of the town planning office as prescribed in the law. Now, these may sound like small matters, but our problems have to do with the way in which this country is being governed. We are a good country with good people afflicted by bad government. And Dennis Lowe is always at the center of it. And I'm saying to you, therefore, that in Christchurch, you all have the opportunity to prove Burke wrong. Only thing necessary for the triumph of wickedness is for good people to do nothing. You can do something. You can send the signal that this misuse of your financial resources, this abuse of ministerial power, this misuse of the authority of cabinet, that will cause our country to become just another pony, one-pace pony, like any other developing country. It's not for our Barbados, and it has to come to an end. And you can send a powerful, powerful signal that you have had enough by letting us get rid of this menace, Dennis. And give us a real representative on the 21st of the month. Now, I needed to say that because it is about governance, but it's also about your future. And I told you that in this second part of the campaign, we in the Barbados Labour Party will be focusing on the presentation of our manifesto. I want to thank Liz Thompson for capturing such an important part of it and outlining what are some of the things in it. But would you not agree that in a way an election can come down to one thing, and one thing only? That there has to be something that Barbadians as a whole feel is the most important single one thing that a government must deal with. And that the two parties that are presenting manifestos to you must stand to be judged on where they stand on that one thing and that one thing alone. The most important thing. And that you would expect that the two political institutions would recognize that if there's one thing that all Barbadians are saying is the most important thing affecting them, then to be properly governed, the parties must have a clear position as where they stand on that one thing. Perhaps the rest of the manifesto does not matter. And if you ask Barbadians, every poll is saying that Barbadians believe that the cost of living is the most important thing affecting them on which they want serious action by the government. Not true? And what are the facts? The facts are that our cost of living has risen by 33%, 35% over the course of the last 5 years. Our cost of living now is rose in 1 year 3 times faster than it did in the rest of the Caribbean and the world. So you can't say it is being afflicted on us by things coming from abroad, because if that was the case, the inflation rate in Barbados would be the same as the inflation rate in the Caribbean or the inflation rate in the rest of the world. So that if our inflation is 3 times higher than the rest of the world, it means that it is being generated, the cost of living is being generated from things happening here and being done here. But I can come to that point. Could we all agree, therefore, that if the cost of living and its resolution is the most important single one thing affecting every Barbadian, then the two manifestos stand to be judged on what they say about the cost of living. Isn't that fair? And that this election, therefore, if we are serious people, should turn on that issue and that issue alone. Now, you go to the Democratic Party manifesto, and there is not a word on the cost of living. Can you believe that? The most important single matter affecting everybody in Barbados. Our people are hurting. Our people are unable to pay the electricity bills, to meet the cost of water. Barbadians are struggling to put food on the table on Sundays for the first time in our history. Prices are out of control. And a political institution comes to you and tells you, Dems now, Dems again, to continue the same thing, but they will not tell you how they are going to touch the most important single problem facing the people of this country. Well, in our manifesto, we have gone to the extent of treating this as the most important single issue that a new government has to deal with. We have to take the pinch of prices out of your pockets. And what have we told you? We have told you the narrative that I just related, in part, that our prices have risen 3 times faster than the rest of the region. It says that it means that the sources of the increase have been domestic and driven in large measure by the policies of this failed government. We go on. It is of special significance that the prices of energy and electricity have been the items that have shown the greatest increase, over 65%, followed by food, where the impact of the counterproductive measures of the government have been their most severe. Now follow me. There's not rocket science. If the greatest increase in the cost of living has come through the increase in the cost of electricity and food, then where will they start? Deal with them first. That makes sense to you? And if you were in government, is not that what you would do? That go to where the cost of living has risen the fastest and find what it is that we can do to stop it from rising so fast. Isn't that fair? So this is how our manifesto has been written. The BLP accepts that restraining the growth in prices relative to the region must be the focus of our policies. The policies must begin with and center around the impact of domestic policies on the people's pockets. It is domestic policies that are causing it. Now, as you all know, our electricity prices are made up of two things. The cost of operating the electric power, its wages and salaries and so on, and the cost of the fuel oil that it uses. And that fuel oil cost is passed on to you in something called the fuel adjustment. That is the thing that is under the control of the government. It is under control of the government because a government company called the Barbados National Oil Company sells the fuel oil to the electric power, and the rate at which it sells that fuel oil and the amount of profits that it is prepared either to make or not make determines your fuel charge adjustment. You understand that? So your fuel charge adjustment depends on the price at which a government monopoly is selling fuel oil to the electric power. And over the course of the last few years, this government has allowed its own monopoly to make over $200 million in profits alone. Gouge out the eyes of the consuming public of Barbados by the terms at which it is selling fuel oil to the electric power. And we have done the charts. There have been times when the price of crude is coming down, but the fuel charge is still going up, having to do only with the BNOC making too much money from selling to electric power. Now, that company is owned by the government, and the government can do something about it. And the government can help you by immediately selling to BNOC. Stop gouging the public by making excess profits from selling fuel oil to the electric power. And this is what we say in our manifesto. As the first order of business, an elected BLP government will bring relief to every consumer, every household, and every business in Barbados by changing the policies pertaining to the sale of fuel oil by the Barbados National Oil Company to electric power that has led to the recent escalation in the cost of electricity. Yeah, I want to tell you that on our very first day, we will tell the BNOC, bring relief, let our people go, and bring down the price of electricity by the price at which you sell these things to the electric power. Secondly, I told you that the second most important item causing the cost of living to rise is food. And the price of food has been rising in Barbados because the government has increased the excise tax on food from 15% to 17.5%. And they had promised that that increase would have been temporary. Now they let it go past the expiry date. The 18 months came and went, but they have kept the VAT at 17.5%. We do not believe, given the financial situation that it would be possible from day one to carry back the VAT to 15, but we propose to make sure that over the 5-year term, it goes back to 15. So we can start by stopping the BNOC from selling fuel oil so high, and we will reduce the VAT from 17 to 15% on food and on electricity to enable you to get an immediate ease. Secondly, these manifestos are intended to be judged by whether fundamental issues affecting all of Barbados or a large cross-section of Barbados are addressed in these manifestos. Isn't that fair? Now, the CLICO issue is important because the CLICO issue affects 35,000 Barbadians. It affects you, my friend. And this government has for 4 years done absolutely nothing about it. We told the government to set aside a CLICO day, and we would come to Parliament and meet with the government and tell all of the rest of the world, the IMF, the IADB, the World Bank, the rating agencies, that it is unconscionable for a government to have 35,000 Barbadians put in a position of penury, not knowing if they're coming or going, and that we want to fix this. Governments exist to take charge. Government exists to face things and to fix them. And for 4 years, the Democratic Labour Party has refused to touch this matter. In the interval, you see a man called Mr. Leroy Paris, their pal, walking around with champagne in his hands, in his fine Italian suits, in the presence of his pal, the Minister of Finance. Every meeting that the DLP has, this man is at it. And what is happening in Barbados? That the Democratic Labour Party will not touch the CLICO matter, because as we are saying in this manifesto, the full burden of fixing the CLICO matter should not fall on the shoulders of taxpayers who have not caused it, but those who have helped to create the problem. Their assets must be pursued, and they cannot be allowed to walk around involving themselves in fine dining and in Italian suits. They need to get into the blue denim. And that we are going to pursue them, but that we will solve the problem. And in our manifesto, we says that the time has come for us, that it is not an $837 million problem either. It is a $77 million problem, and that we can solve it by a combination of cash, gifts like bonds and tax relief to individuals, and bonds and tax relief to companies. But it can be solved, and it can be solved in Barbados first. Now, 35,000 Barbadians is more than 1/10 of our society. And it has to be wrong for a problem caused by the government that can be solved by the government, that is not being solved by the government, to be allowed to continue to undermine the livelihoods of those people. I had a friend, and I like to quote it, Courage Pilgrim. Courage Pilgrim, he said, Owen Arthur, I am 90 years old. He said, I am in the departure lounge awaiting the final boarding call. He said, I was living off my interest on my investments in CLICO. I am left to nothing. And my friend Courage died waiting on the government of Barbados to put things right with him. How many more Courage Pilgrims will have to die while a government of this country refuses to act because it wants to protect one man rather than look after the interests of 35. It is wrong. And they say to you that the only thing that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to continue to do nothing. And that we got to fix CLICO. And in this manifesto, we have spelled out how we will fix the CLICO problem as a matter of urgency. Go to the Democratic Labour Party manifesto, not a single word. These things are wrong. And that is why this government must change. We must bring hope to you, the people who are struggling with the cost of living. And my friend, you say that you're a CLICO victim? Hello? You got two policies? You don't know where you're coming or going? Depend upon us, my friend. Now, in this campaign, the Democratic Labour Party is trying to steal a government by stealth. You're hearing that we want to privatize. But it is they who, in their statements in Parliament, have said that they are not only going to, that they have already agreed to privatize Transport Board, the National Housing Corporation, and the Sanitation Authority. Now, I seem to recall that the same Dennis Lowe is the minister responsible for the Sanitation Authority. We have had a discussion in this country about the Transport Board. But are we to understand that the Democratic Labour Party is already committed to having the Sanitation Authority become a private entity, and that you, in the future, who are getting your garbage pickup free, will, in the future, if a DLP government becomes a government, have to start paying for the collection of garbage? Is this what we are hearing? Because this is what Mr. Dennis Lowe should be coming about this parish and this district talking to you about. Liz and all the others have already covered issues such as putting money in people's pocket and tax relief. And may I say this, I am not, read our manifesto on how we will bring tax relief. But I am offended, deeply, deeply offended. When a person purporting to be the Prime Minister of this country, in circumstances where people are struggling, can tell them that if you want money put in your pockets, go to the drug traders and go to the criminal elements and get the money from them. That don't come to the government. And you know what is disgraceful about it? The government says that they cannot put money in your pockets. But the question is, whose pockets is this government putting the money in? It can't put money in your pockets, but it can bring a company called Cost You Less from Canada. And they're allowing it to operate in this country without paying VAT, excise tax. All of its employees can buy cars duty-free and tax-free. And every penny of profits that the company makes will be put in the pockets of its shareholders free of tax. This government is also putting a lot of money in the pockets of some companies and some companies alone. It is not about your pockets. But in this parish, you have seen what happens when a government sets out to consolidate activity in a country in the hands of only a few. Coverly. And the same one company or a few are now benefiting all across Barbados from the efforts of this DLP government to cut deals to put money in their pockets. So Frangel and his crew are not against to put money in people's pockets. It depends upon who and what they can do for the Democratic Labour Party. Now, I don't want to make this personal, but I tell you that these campaigns for me have become extremely vicious. I remember the last election, David Thompson coming on the platform and holding up a cartoon of milk and saying this cartoon of milk has passed its expiry date. This cartoon of milk is Owen Arthur. He didn't know he had an expiry date. Frandl Stewart has called me half dead. And the Democratic Labour Party is trying to put out the rumor that I am disqualified to serve because there is something wrong with my health. Now, I'm 63 years old. And I don't feel that there's many 63-year-olds that look better than Donald Son. That's a fact. And I go further. A woman called DePisa has said that it is within her certain knowledge that I am sick and getting worse. And that my death in office, I hear them talking about me, my death in office could lead to a situation where there's confusion about my succession. And the speaker, of course, as you know, collapses from time to time. I don't talk about him. But in this constituency, at a time when you are being told from the LP platforms that there's something wrong with poor me and that my ill health disqualifies me from being able to serve, the DLP has a man, and I wish him well. And I hope that God will give him the strength to lose with grace. But they have a man who is demonstrably sick, who has been unable to perform his functions because of his known and proven illness. And they are seeking to thrust this man who has been unable to perform his parliamentary duties because of illness on you, by telling you that I should not be allowed to perform because of my imagined illness. This is sick. I wish Mr. Lowe many years of good health. I don't wish bad things on people. Whatever he has, and however he got it, and whoever he got it from, it is his business. It is his business, none of mine. That he got it or whatever it is for him to come and tell us if they want to make my health an issue, come clean with the public of Barbados. But I have not the person who is making people's health an issue. They are. And I make that point because for too long, we in the Barbados Labour Party have been turning the other cheek. We have been allowing them to believe that there's one country for us and another country for them. And in this election, we have run a clean election, talk about the issues, but we are not taking any more nastiness from the Democratic Labour Party. We shall answer them. We shall fight them to the bitter end. And I have come tonight to tell you all, therefore, that this is a fight for the future of this country. And I want you to fight to the bitter end to give us the opportunity to be sure that this best that the Democratic Labour Party has created, that we are going to deal with it, and that these are extraordinary times. These are times that call for extraordinary solutions. This is not a time to say, that we are going to let them run the course, because the course that they have run has taken us from stability to calamity. This is a time for change, but not just ordinary change. This country's situation is so problematic, so calamitous, that only extraordinary change and a willingness to think beyond the box will save this country. And this manifesto has been prepared to challenge Barbados to find solutions outside the box. And I commend it to you. And I tell you that some 41 years ago, 42 years ago, I entered on Lake Low, a university that had a master's program, to do a master's degree in economics. I have had the opportunity now to do many things with that training in those 41 years. I look forward. I had 14 years as a Minister of Finance, in which I found this country with the IMF at the doorstep, telling me they have a program to run this country. I tell them, please go home. Let me trust the people of Barbados. Let me incentivize them to rise up to this country's economic salvation. I found a country with 24% unemployment and left it at 6%. I found a country that was not growing, gave it years of growth above the ordinary for 14 years. We had a country in 1991 where the dollar could have been devalued because the central bank had minus $1 million in foreign exchange. I found it at 348. We left it at 2 billion. We found it at 348 million. We left $2.8 billion in foreign exchange savings. That is what is carrying Barbados now. We built an economy firing on all cylinders. When the OECD says we're going to shut down our offshore sector, it says, you try that with my country, I'm going to fight you to the death. And we went all across the world and fought the OECD until they took Barbados off their blacklist, the only developing country to be so favored. We started new things. We saved our Social Security. The American government is still struggling now to solve their Social Security system. We fixed our national insurance and has left it as an institution that now gives you the prospect that in 2030, rather than being bankrupt, that they'll be able to pay the pensions of yourself, your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. And we want to come to office again, because cometh the hour, cometh the man, cometh the challenge, cometh the response. You can trust the Barbados Labour Party to deliver. And I'm asking you to enable us to have your Mr. Abrams as that part of the team that will deliver this country once again to a future that is brighter than our past. Good night. God bless each and every one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next Prime Minister of Barbados, Owen Arthur. Can't want it better than that. Just to remind you, tomorrow night, we continue our crusade across the country with meetings at Redmond Village in St. Thomas, Six Roads in St. Philip, Garrickshill in St. Joseph, and Bridge Road in St. Michael. Ladies and gentlemen, and good people of Silver Sands, you were a wonderful audience. Get home safe, good night, and God bless you. Vote Barbados Labour Party and vote for a better tomorrow.